Hello, everybody. We have made it finally to the NFL playoffs. It is finally Super Wildcard weekend. I can't even speak. That's how excited I am. What episode is this, Dante? Is this six? No, this is 15 now, I think.
15. Yeah.
15, yeah.
15. Welcome to season 3, episode 15 of the Weekly Gridiron podcast. As always, we are your hosts, Adam.
Dante.
And Luke,
And guys, as I've said, we have finally made it to the playoffs. The regular season is over. It is no longer 32 teams playing. We are down to 14, which means I can't do math. Is that 18 teams that are done, Luke?
yes.
Okay. All right. 18 teams are now watching football from the couch. My Panthers being one of them, Luke's Patriots being another. But I must say, beating Atlanta on Sunday was amazing. And finishing season 5-12 after going 2-15 the year before was awesome.
Yeah.
Very happy. I'm very happy with this team's future. I think we have our quarterback. I think we have our coach to build the culture up. We just gotta figure out everything else, and we'll be solid.
Yeah. And now Luke, the Patriots are interviewing Ben Johnson, which would be awesome.
Yeah, right in the middle of the head coach interviewing process, which I guess we certainly hadn't fired Drake May the last time.
Drake
Not Drake
May.
May, Rod Mayo the last time we recorded. It was the right thing to do. We just had to. I think I've said it before, and I think I said it last time that we have all off season to talk about this. But since it's kind of a current event, yes, we had no talent on the team the entire season. The roster was terrible. It was terribly put together. We missed on draft picks. But that doesn't mean so yes, the coaches kind of had nothing to work with, but that doesn't mean that they can't just have been terrible coaches. And I'm also wrapping the coordinators up into that. Alex Van Pelt might stay. DeMarcus Covington needs to go. I saw the Bengals interviewed him for the defensive coordinator position. Dante, if you don't know much about him, you should be on your knees praying that happens. Because he was probably the worst defensive coordinator in the league, maybe second to whoever the Bengals did have.
Nice.
So, um, yeah, just because we had such a talentless roster doesn't mean the coaches had to get fired. It was the unpreparedness, it was the walking back all the lies or the half truths in your press conferences. So it needed to happen. Now we're in these head coach interview cycles. Interviewing Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel is more than likely the guy, but we need to do our due diligence because did completely the opposite last time. Look where it landed us. My only issue with hiring Vrabel and a month ago, if you would have told me we would be firing Mayo and interviewing Vrabel and Ben Johnson, I would have started crying tears of joy. But now that I can look at it objectively, my only issue with Vrabel is that I really would like offensive security. Drake May needs a consistent voice in the locker room. We can't handle it like we handled Mac, who was playing under three different play callers, 3 different years. Um, Now Drake May is almost a can't ruin talent, but I would like Ben Johnson a lot for that reason. Or I would just like to see who Mike Vrabel brings in with him. But anything's an upgrade, and all I'm saying is that the Dolphins and Jets, they have better really figure something out if they want to hold on to the loose grip they have over the 2 and 3 spots in our division because Drake May is coming, and if we get a competent coach, and if we hit our on pick number 4, we're about to take back a wild card spot, and I don't think we're going to give it up as soon as we get there, at least, which I'm not sure is going to happen next year. But in our division, I can see us certainly performing a lot better than we have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's good that you guys are interviewing, period. When last year it was just, oh, Bill's gone, but Bill said the handpicked guy is Gerard Mayo, so we have to go with Mayo. Where this year you're actually talking to other people. I just think that's a good step.
Well,
Regardless,
I read about that a little bit, not to cut you off, and I guess that Kraft basically said like 4 years ago, Gerard Mayo was getting looks from other teams for different positions, and Kraft was afraid of losing him, so he wrote into his contract that he would be the successor whenever they moved on from Belichick to keep him there. And then obviously that day came, hopefully probably a little sooner than any of them were expecting. And Mayo wasn't ready, and it wasn't that he wasn't prepared, he just was never the guy. And I know Kraft did the kind thing by saying like, "Oh, I think he's gonna have a very successful career. He'll land as a head coach somewhere eventually." I don't think so, but I guess he's off my team now. I don't need to complain about him anymore. So best of luck to him, I guess.
and one last thing, I feel like that's always what the people in the organization have to do. Like they're not going to go out there and be like, "This guy sucked. I'm glad he's off our team." Like they're always, no matter what, going to say like, "We appreciate what this guy did for our team, and we wish him the best in his career elsewhere, and we think he can be a good piece to some other team." Like they may not think that, but
Unless you're Ryan Fitzpatrick and you go on a podcast and call Brian Flores a dictator. If you guys saw that.
yeah, yeah, I think I did hear about that.
He did, and then he tried to walk it back on Twitter, but I mean, they were his words. So just now that head coaches are getting fired, now that things are happening, now that certain names are being brought up in interviews, you know, interesting, tumultuous sort of situations are popping up all over the place. But this is not what we're focused on this week. It's playoffs. We have the whole off season for that. More breaking news will trickle in before the playoffs are over. And Adam said it. His Panthers are on the couch. My Patriots are on the couch. But Dante, the Steelers, their heart is still beating.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get
Let's
into
try-
that.
Well, first, Adams.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I'll keep this quick, but this is going to be my final little fantasy football spiel of the season. So I figured I'd do the top 10 of the week one last time and then kind of go through who are the best of the best from each position this year. So quickly going to run through our top 10. And number 10 this week with 27.3 points against the Chargers, we had Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers. At number 9 with 27.88 points, we had Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray against the 49ers. That was Kyler's third appearance of the season. Then at number 8, we had Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert against the Raiders, scored 28.04 points. At number 7, with his fifth appearance of the season, we had Derrick Henry scoring 30.1 points as the Ravens running back against the Browns. Number 6, we had Bijan Robinson with 31.3 points, Falcons running back against the Panthers. That was his third appearance on the top 10 this season. Then on to our top 5, 31.6 points for Chargers receiver Quentin Johnston. Number 4 with 33.54 points, Broncos quarterback Bo Nix. That was his third appearance of the year on the top 10. Number 3, Carolina Panthers quarterback Bryce Young with 36.44 points against the Falcons, his second appearance of the year on a top 10 list. Number 2, Falcons receiver Drake London with 40.7 points against my Panthers. That was London's second appearance on a top 10 this season. And number 1 this week with his third appearance on a top 10 this year with 46 on the dot against the Vikings was Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. And then a little bit of a quick history lesson for top 10s this year. The most appearances on a top 10 this season were by Saquon Barkley with 7 of the 18 weeks being in the top 10.
Jesus.
Most total appearances by a team were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had 13 appearances spread out across all 18 weeks, 5 of those being by Baker Mayfield, 2 by Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin, and 1 by Rashad White, Sean Tucker, Mike Evans, and Kate Otten. And there was only one team with 0 appearances this year. Luke, do you want to say who that team was?
The Patriots. Although I will say,
Damn, you made him say it. That's crazy.
Well, I told him before.
although I will say, Kayshon Boutte probably came close this week. He had like 8
did.
catches, 100 yards, touchdown. He had a good game.
I think
The
he was
Steelers had to be on there like once or twice. I think
Yeah.
Fields made it once. and I
Pickens
think-
probably made it once.
Russ made it twice, I think.
Oh, word.
That might have been it. But anyway, before I'm done, quick top 5 from each position this year. I'll do this quickly. Top 5 quarterbacks this year. I don't need to go through all the scores. If you want to see the scores, go check out our Instagram at the Weekly Gridiron, and you'll see those. But top 5 quarterbacks this year in fantasy. Number 5, Jaden Daniels. Number 4, Baker Mayfield. Number 3, Joe Burrow. Number 2, Josh Allen. And number 1, Lamar Jackson. Top 5 running backs. Number 5, Devon Achane. Number 4, Derrick Henry. 3, Bijan Robinson. 2, Saquon. And number 1, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wow, Saquon at 2. I didn't expect that.
I was surprised. Top 5 wide receivers. Number 5, Drake London. Number 4, shout out to the rookie, Brian Thomas Jr. Number 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 2, Justin Jefferson. And 1, Jamar Chase. Top 5 tight ends. Number 5, Travis Kelce. Number 4, Jonnu Smith. Was not expecting to see him here this year.
What?
Yeah. Yep. 3, George Kittle. 2, Trey McBride. And number 1, Brock Bowers. Top 5 defenses / special teams. Five was Eagles, four Texans, three Packers, two Vikings, and one Denver Broncos. Top five kickers, we had a tie at the number five spot between Buccaneers, Chase McLaughlin, and Dolphins, Jason Sanders. Number four went to Texans, Kaimi Fairbairn. Three, Chargers, Cameron Dicker. Two, Cowboys, Brandon Aubrey. And the number one kicker in fantasy football this year from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Chris Boswell.
Yes.
You
The
got that at
Bible.
least. And then lastly, the top five overall players in fantasy football this year. I'll read scores for this one. Number five with 365.8 total fantasy points, Baker Mayfield. And number four with 372.82 fantasy points, Joe Burrow. And number three with 379.04 fantasy points, Josh Allen. At number two with 403 fantasy points on the dot, Jamar Chase. And our top scoring fantasy player this year with 430.38 points, Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
That was our fantasy top five this year.
Damn.
So I didn't win any championships this year. The closest I came was second. Dante, I know you said you won a championship. You told us.
Yeah, I won my big one. I won $300 in a 10-team league. And I don't know, I drafted insane. I had Jane Daniels at quarterback. I had Saquon, James Cook, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Brock Bowers, um, like Commanders D and like Chase McLaughlin. So yeah, it was like the best team I've ever had. So
You had a lot of the names I just read.
yeah, and I drafted all of them, which was sick.
I have to imagine based off of off-season hype that you probably got Jaden Daniels at a really good value pick too.
I got Daniels in the 10th and Bowers in the 11th
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
in a 10-team league, which was
In a
super.
10-team league is crazy.
Yeah.
Luke, any championships this year?
I told you the story, Adam. I was in one and lost one
That's
by
right.
3 points because
No.
because I started Drake May with 0 points because he played like one set of downs. And on my bench was Kyler Murray with like 30 points. So I should have read the writing on the wall, but
What league was that, Luke?
it was for a Patriots group chat I'm in. And to
That's
be fair, that league, I might not do it again next year because a lot of people stopped checking it like halfway through the year. I think in week like 16, I beat some guy like 120 to 20. So, and it was a free league anyways. So
Did
that
Knapp
was
win the
last
jail
year for
league?
that one. What'd you say?
Did Knapp win the jail league?
yes.
I
I
believe
think
so. Yeah.
he was just unreal all season.
It was Knapp and
Yeah.
Jake in the final. And then I think, did I make the playoffs in that league? I can't remember. No, I didn't. It was Nick Cooper and Mason Syke were the other two in the playoffs.
I went like 5-10, I think.
I
It
was
was
somehow worse in the league again. So
Oh no.
happened. Anyways,
It's,
that's all for fantasy football. Now let's go on. We have made it to the NFL playoffs, like I've said 500 times by now. Before we begin, I want to shout out our regular season, though, real quick. Let's go through these records.
yeah.
Dante, you were in third place for total games picked this year, but you went 179 and 93. That's still pretty good.
yeah.
Which probably I could check, probably would have been good for first last year.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we kept it up.
Luke, you went, or no, I went 181 and 91, and Luke, our winner this year, went 190 and 82.
Damn.
That's insane.
He
Not
knows
only,
90 wins. I didn't expect it, but man, what a
not
year for
only did Luke win that, he was also the winner in lock of the week and upset of the week. I guess our first ever WG Triple Crown winner.
my upset of the week was horrible. It was awful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was awful.
I was like
Dante
3
went-
and 14.
3 and 15 I have here, 7 and 11 for me, and 8 and 10 for Luke. And then lock, I went 13 and 5, Dante 14 and 4, Luke 16 and 2.
Okay, I'll take 14 and 4 on the lock. That's fine.
16 and 2 on the lock is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Now we jump into the playoffs, boys.
Question. Speaking of that, are we doing locks and upsets for the wild?
I think maybe not.
Doesn't matter. I don't think we have to. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these games are hard to
If
pick
for
up.
no other reason, you might not like what my lock is.
Wow.
We could say if you want to pick a lock, you can, but
All right.
Um,
I gotta
anyway,
just pick mine.
anyways,
We can get
first game
into
we got here is Chargers and Texans. Chargers finished the season 11-6 in second place in the AFC West. The Texans pretty much crawled to the finish, finishing 10-7 in a very putrid AFC South, but just not looking like themselves. The team as a whole is not playing great. CJ Stroud is definitely experiencing a sophomore slump, as they call it. And that leads me to unfortunately picking against my boy CJ Stroud. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one because they have looked great all season. Look, to me, the Chargers are that one scrappy team in the AFC right now that I don't think anyone should want to play. If you're looking at it hypothetically and all the top seeds win in the AFC besides the Chargers, if I'm the Chiefs, I wouldn't want to play the Chargers because that's a divisional opponent. Who says you beat them for a third time? I mean, they probably will, but who says they do? Plus, the Chargers have Jim Harbaugh, and whether I like him or not from his time at Michigan, that man wins everywhere he goes. And I think it's just going to keep on going here. I think the Chargers will go to the divisional round.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Adam here. I'm gonna take the Chargers as well. Um, however, the one thing that's I mean, Adam, you covered it pretty well about the Texans and not playing great football right now, and um, I don't know, they haven't really looked like the Texans of last year. Um, I don't know, they're on kind of a I don't want to say Stroud's on a sophomore slump because he's really not. Their O line just has been struggling all year, except for in opening up run lanes for Joe Mixon because he's been pretty good this year. But the Texans are also pretty injury ridden, specifically at the wide receiver position. Um, Tank Dell out for the year, and I believe Diggs is still out. Is Diggs out for the year? Correct?
He
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yep.
and yeah, you really gotta put a heavy workload on Nico Collins, but we'll see what Deontay Johnson can do in the playoffs.
Panthers legend, Deontay Johnson.
Ravens legend Deontay Johnson. But yeah, however, though I'm picking the Chargers, their lack of weapons does worry me, but I think Lad McConkey has proven that he is a capable receiver, even though he is a rookie. And yeah, if the Chargers just play clean football, run the ball well, and play great defense like we know they can, I think they're going to get it done.
I agree. I have to go Chargers here. It's crazy the Chargers were what, like 5-12, and Harbaugh he went to a team that knew that they weren't going to finish first in the division because the Chiefs were in that division. He's going to turn them into a playoff winner right away. They play the right brand of football. The Texans, the nice way to put it is there are a lot of question marks on their outlook. They might be just fine again next year. They very well might win that division again next year because they're the best of bad teams, but they could go 10-7 and have been 7-7 and look good into the playoffs after 3 wins, but that's just not the case. They look rough, they are rough, and they're going to lose this game.
Interesting.
Yep.
Let's move on.
Go ahead, Dante.
Steelers at Ravens. I mean, prime time. Um, you know, I'm not gonna shit on the Steelers, pardon my French. Like the entire fan base is seemingly done for the past 4 weeks. But my team made the playoffs. We 10 plus wins. I mean, a generational collapse. However, the postseason is a new season. And I don't know. I've already finished last, and I don't really care about my postseason record. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I have some justification for that. In our
Okay.
previous game against the Baltimore Ravens, we were missing a lot of guys. A lot of guys. For example, our number one receiver, George Pickens. We were missing our starting safety, Joey Porter Jr., for most of that game. We were missing our number two corner, Dante Jackson, for all of that game. We were missing Deshaun Elliott, our starting safety, for all of that game. We were missing one of our best run stuffers, Larry Ogunjobi, for all of that game. And yeah, that's just a reason that we're fully healthy now. So I think that gives us a full chance. And on the Ravens side of the ball, Zay Flowers is going to be out, which is very big. Um, though I know you guys are probably going to pick the Ravens, and I totally understand that. But some more justification. If you look at the Steelers' four-game skid, which obviously unacceptable, and if you want to win playoff games, you got to beat teams like we played, like the Eagles on the road, the Ravens on the road, the Chiefs at home, and then the Bengals at home. Those are three playoff teams and three division winners and one borderline playoff team that didn't end up making it, but that's neither here nor there. That was a tough stretch for us, and while not fully healthy, that's tough. But on Baltimore side, they went on a four-game win streak, and let's just listen to who the Ravens played in this four-game win streak. They played the Houston Texans, who we talked about have struggled. They played a far from healthy Pittsburgh Steelers team. They beat the New York Giants and they beat the Cleveland Browns. Those are the four teams the Ravens beat in their four-game win streak, which honestly, props to them because winning in the league, winning in the NFL is impressive no matter who it's against. But that just puts it in some perspective. And the Steelers, when fully healthy, have played the Ravens honestly better than any team in the NFL except for maybe the Chiefs. So in our defense, though did struggle the past 3 weeks before the Bengal game, we held Joe Burrow and the Bengals in a really good offense to under 20 points. Though we did not win that game, that's still encouraging to see. And I don't know. I have full optimism, and I don't know. If my team makes the playoffs, I'm gonna pick them. Like that's just how it is. And I have full faith in Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Though you guys probably don't, I still do. Here we go. And man, I really hope we win this game. But that's my spiel. I hope I made some good points, and I hope I swayed you at least a little bit to at least consider that this is possible. But thank you.
Yeah, you made some good points.
But but you're still going the Ravens, and that's fine.
I didn't say that. Go ahead, Adam.
Um, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not ruling out the Steelers here. It's a divisional game. Anything can happen.
They've won
Mike
8 out of 10 against the Ravens. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. Sorry
Tomlin's
to.
beaten the Ravens before, but the thing that scares me right now is I'm not sure what Russell Wilson we're getting. He's looked a little bit questionable, which I mean, it's still 10 times better than what we saw last year from the
Yeah.
Steelers quarterbacks. You're not going with Mason Rudolph in this game, but I gotta go with the team that's better right now, and that's Baltimore. But I could see the Steelers making this a game. I would like them to make this a game because, you know, it's been since what? I think I was talking to my barber about this today. Shout out Robbie, by the way. I was 14 years old the last time the Steelers won a playoff game, and I'm 22 years old right now.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but
This is all I do. This is my Super Bowl. This is my Super. I need to win this
so
game.
if let's just hypothetically say this. I am picking Baltimore, by the way.
Cool.
If the Steelers win this game and get 30-pieced at Arrowhead next week, say they go to play the Chiefs, will you still be happy with the season knowing you
That's
beat
a
Baltimore?
W. Yes. We're getting the monkey off our back of winning a playoff game. Then the Tomlin haters can give it a rest. If we get 30 piece by the Chiefs next week, but we knock off the Ravens on the road, I'm totally fine. That's such a W. Dude, I might cry tears of joy if we win this game.
Um, yeah, here's the thing. I'm gonna save some more comprehensive thoughts for next week. If they win or lose, I'll have some more thoughts. You're right, Adam. We don't know what version of Russell Wilson we're getting. I'll even say we don't know what version of George Pickens we're getting. And at risk of really being pointed at in this Zoom call, I'll even say I don't know what version of TJ Watt we're getting. Because he's a great disruptor, but he needs to do more than just disrupt big plays. He needs to be a constant force.
I
And
100% agree. I couldn't agree
you
more.
need, especially with Zay Flowers out, um, it's going to be it's going to be a big tight end game. It's going to be a big on the ground game. You need that constant pressure. I will say that much. The corners need to show up. You're healthy, but what are you going to get out of Dante Jackson? Hopefully, with Zay Flowers out, something very productive. That's just the outlook. Personally, I think you're right. The Steelers could win this game. They could stick in this game. They could make this game ugly. As a pure, objective football viewing fan, with my team out, I you're really gonna I hope the Ravens win because I think if the Steelers win, it's gonna be an ugly 12-13 game. That's just not really what I want to see.
That's fair. That's
As
fair.
unfortunate as it is, I think if the Steelers want to win this game, they have to keep it really ugly, and then they'll have a 50-50 chance at winning. But I don't think the Steelers win by more than a score if they win. I would just like to see a high-powered game. If we can get what we got, I mean, even the first Steelers Ravens matchup of the year wasn't like the most high-flying. But if we can get a version of the Steelers team from earlier in the year and the Ravens at their best, that's a darn good football game. I just don't know we're gonna get that. And so now I'm just talking about what I would like to see, what I think will happen. I don't see a path for the Steelers. I could be completely wrong, and I've talked at length about division games and how you can throw out easy projections. And for that reason, I think the Steelers could absolutely win this game. But I just think it'll be a scrappy last 2 minutes kind of field goal or something. But the Steelers haven't been finishing games like that. They have not. You look at the last three Steelers playoff games. I wouldn't even bring it up because it's really ugly. The deficits they've fallen to very, very fast. Like down three scores almost immediately the past couple playoff games. So they need to control that. They need to come out really. They need to put their best foot forward if they want a chance in this game. And earlier in the season, I was really bought in, and I think I said something like this last week. But you talked about that 4 game stretch, just a terrible gauntlet of four teams that they played and lost to. But earlier in the year, they wanted to be considered one of these teams. They had me bought in that they could win a playoff game, go on a run. But if they want to be one of those teams, they have to be able to hang with them. And for 4 weeks, they proved to me that they couldn't, unfortunately. So I have to go with the Ravens.
That's fair. That's fair. One rebuttal I will make about the earlier Steelers and Ravens game. I think it was a lot closer. Now, this is going to sound so idiotic, but it was a lot closer than the score showed, I think. I think the Ravens scored some garbage time points. Terrible pick six by Russ, first of all, and a fumble by Russ at the goal line, which could have
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
14-point swing, to be honest. Um, but I think the Steelers were in that game for most of it. And that's really the last time the Steelers looked good was against the Ravens.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I totally get you guys picking the Ravens. And if I wasn't a Steeler fan, I might pick the Ravens too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. And if this is it, if this is the year we had, um, so be it. But anyway, let's move on.
All right. Moving on to our Sunday slate. 1 o'clock p.m. We have the 10-7 Broncos who had to win to get in against Chiefs backups, but it doesn't matter. They're in. The drought is over for Denver fans. They'll finally play their first playoff game since beating my Panthers in Super Bowl 50.
That's crazy.
It is. But they got to go against the Bills, who went 13-4 this year and have looked incredible. Listen, Broncos fans, I'm happy for you. I'm happy you finally get to experience playoff football. It ends here. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm not going to go as far as by saying comfortably, but I could see two scenarios here. It's either Denver's going to keep this close or Buffalo's going to win pretty easily. And I could see both happening. Sean Payton is a good coach, but Sean Payton has not been in the playoffs in a few years. It's been since I believe 2020. It's been a while for him. You've got a rookie quarterback going to a very tough environment. I love Bo Nix, but I'm not sure how good he's going to look. And then I love the Broncos defense. I really think they can make this a game, but we're talking about stopping Josh Allen here. Sure, Josh Allen is prone to losing the playoffs. Josh Allen doesn't lose in the first round. So I'm taking Buffalo for those reasons.
Yeah, I like Buffalo in a close one here, to be honest. And I think Bo Nix is going to play okay. Um, but this really reminds me of um, whenever the Steelers went to Orchard Park last year. Very similar situation. Team with a great defense and an inexperienced quarterback. Um, Mason Rudolph and Bo Nix seem like similar entities right now, but I think Bo Nix is far better than Mason Rudolph was last year. Um, but that's why I think the Broncos do have a slight shot in this game, and I will be rooting for them. Hella, I'd love to see them win this game. I think they're a fun team. I love Cortland Sutton. He is, I think, one of the most underrated receivers in the game, and Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin, both really good backs for them. And then their defense is just their defense. I really want Surtain to get his first playoff win. I feel like that'd be super cool. But once again, Highmark Stadium is such a tough place to play, and especially in the playoffs. But that's why I have Josh Allen and the Bills winning this one.
Yeah, I'll jump right out and say that I'm picking the Bills, but I'm telling you guys, this I'm too much of a coward to pick the Broncos, but I think this is the upset watch of the first round. I don't say that with all the other games in my mind, so one might pop up and I might be like, oh, well, I'm picking an upset here. But against that Denver defense, the Bills have to start very careful. They have to start very careful. I think this is bad news if the Bills play from behind, so they have to score. They need a no turnover first half, or they need to stop the Broncos offense, which is possible, but against this defense, I'm just saying they have to play very careful. And the Bills don't like being careful. The Bills don't like being careful. Josh Allen doesn't like being careful. And he's at his best when he's not careful. Let's face it. Another aspect of this is prime Sean McDermott vulnerable to being outcoached. It's the playoffs, and we've seen it again. We've seen it multiple times that when they fall down in games, Sean McDermott has a tough time picking them back up in the playoffs. He's a defensive head coach. That can be a liability when you're working from behind in the playoffs. This is a real upset watch for me. Again, I'm picking the Bills because they are so good. This is the best version of Josh Allen we've ever seen. And frankly, I don't think that Patrick Surtain, as incredible as he is going to have the most direct impact as he may in other games when he's covering the obvious one, because the Bills don't have an obvious one. So I'd like to see who he's on most of the time. Probably will depend on who's where on the field, which might mean that if you stretch his ability to cover the big playmakers, someone else can get open enough in a soft middle that maybe Bo Nix will have the throws that he likes all game long. And if they can run the ball, all I'm saying is the Bills have to be careful here. So I'm picking them, but I could absolutely see an upset.
Cool. Cool. On to Sunday at 4:30, we have a rematch from week 1 of the season, back when these two played in Brazil. We've got the 11-6 Packers and the 14-3 Eagles. This is an interesting one because I've heard injury rumblings about both quarterbacks. But last I've heard, both quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love, seem like they're going to be good to go this week. Although some other injury news, Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Packers, got ruled out for the season after an injury on Sunday, so he won't be there for this game. Thinking about it, I think I'm going to go with the Eagles. I could see Green Bay pulling off an upset here, but I mean, it's Philadelphia. It's a game at Lincoln Financial Field. We know how tough it is to play there. I I am a Phillies fan, and I know the Philadelphia playoff magic runs out at some point, but I don't think it'll run out on the Eagles this early. And they lost in the wild card last year, but this is a totally different Eagles team. They are healthier than they were last year. They are more motivated. They want to get a win for this city, and I think they're going to go to the divisional round at least. And I love Green Bay. Dante, I know that was your Super Bowl pick this year, but I don't know. I feel so 50-50 about Green Bay lately. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stay in a game like this. Like, I think they can, but I think it has the potential to where if they make too many mistakes, it could get really ugly. But we'll see. I'm gonna leave it at that and say I'm picking Philadelphia. There's not much I really had to say about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Philly too. However, I'll be rooting for Green Bay like super hard because I really like Jordan Love. And but yeah, this Philly team is just a juggernaut right now. But you know, Jalen Hurts coming off a concussion, who knows how he's gonna look after 2 or 3 weeks of being out. I'm sure he'll look just fine, but that's something to keep in mind. Christian Watson being out for the Packers is a big deal. He's one of their main targets, but I think Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed and forgive me, their tight end, not Luke Musgrave,
Tucker
Tucker.
Craft.
Tucker Kraft. Thank you. Yeah, and I think they could make some noise. And I also think Josh Jacobs is running the ball super well right now. I think he's playing great football.
He had a
However,
very quiet, fantastic season.
yeah, Josh Jacobs has been great, but he's no Saquon Barkley, and Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs are no AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And the Packers defense doesn't come close to the Eagles right now. Um, I think the Eagles win here, and yeah, I was about to say and win comfortably, but I think the Packers could really, keep this a game. And honestly, I could see them winning, but the Eagles are just too good to pick against right now. So I'm going with them.
I agree. Honestly, for days now, my pick has been the Packers. But sitting right here and really thinking about it for the first time with the context of the whole season, and if everybody's playing and both quarterbacks are kind of equally shaken up, I will say again, this is out coach watch. I do think that the Packers are the better coach team, but there is so much firepower in Philly at home. And looking at the context of this year, they didn't just beat bad teams. They whooped some or good teams. They didn't just beat good teams. They really beat good teams. And I know the Packers, it was week 18. They probably, no pun intended, were packing it in at some point. But losing to the Bears, maybe that shouldn't hold too much weight. But when you're up against a team like the Eagles that certainly didn't do something like that, and they won what was a competitive division down to the end with one team, and the Cowboys won a couple games they shouldn't have. The Eagles stand out to me, although I think the Packers could win this game, and I think the winner of this game, depending on who they play, will probably win another game. I am inclined to go with the Eagles, looking at this looking at this game from all points of view, instead of the fact that over the past couple of days I've been leaning Packers because of Jalen Hurts. If he can just not make big misses, Saquon is the difference. He has been the whole year, and I think that's going to continue.
All right.
Really happy to see Saquon in the playoffs
Oh yeah,
on an
he's
actual
so
good team now.
Me
Anyway,
too.
yeah.
What if, before we move on to this game, you could stay on the slide. What if Penn State wins it all and Saquon wins the Super Bowl? How crazy would that be in one year?
Philadelphia might blow up.
yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania as a state might blow up if that
yeah.
happens,
Hmm.
and Pittsburgh would be so mad. But
Yeah, I think yeah, a lot of Pitt and Steelers fans are would have a rough month, but they'll get over it.
I'd be okay.
Yeah, I know.
I'd be good. Anyway,
Anyways, we got our Sunday night game here. It is the 12-5 Commanders and the 10-7 Buccaneers. And this one's interesting. I've seen a 50-50 split for this game. I've seen many people say Commanders, many people say Buccaneers. I think this is our best quarterback matchup of the first round. Baker Mayfield and Jaden Daniels. It's going to be fun to see those two go toe to toe against one another. But I'm going to use the same kind of argument I used with the Broncos Bills game here by saying I'm picking Tampa Bay. I'm not confident in that at all. I think it could definitely go in Washington's favor, but you've got a rookie quarterback coming in here. Tampa Bay is a much easier environment than Buffalo, but the Bucs have some experience. Baker Mayfield, this will be his second playoff year with Tampa Bay, and we know how much Baker can turn up in the playoffs. Last year, they came close to going to the NFC Championship game. In his first playoff stint with the Browns, I guess first and only, they almost went to the AFC Championship game. Where the Commanders, sure, Dan Quinn's been there and done that as a coach, but he hasn't been a head coach in a while. I'm just not sure about this Commanders team with the lack of experience against the Buccaneers. I think I'm going to take Tampa here, but I don't know. I really could see Washington making this a game. I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But give me Tampa.
yeah, I like Tampa Bay here too. Once again, like Adam said, not insanely confident in that pick, but I do think they are the better team. And I don't know. I've just been thinking about it. I don't really feel like Tampa Bay as a franchise has really gotten their flowers on the culture change that they've had since after, you know, signing or signing Tom Brady because they used to be such a bad team and now they're
Yeah.
pretty much a perennial playoff team. So just props to Tampa Bay. They don't get talked about enough. Sorry, Adam. I know that's
Oh,
a divisional rival, but
no, it's fine. Not to interrupt you, but they were once the laughing stock of our division,
yeah,
and now they are the the big brother in the division, the one that everyone looks up to and everyone tries to beat.
yeah,
So
yeah. But yeah, like you said, Adam, Jane Daniels, rookie, no playoff experience, but Baker's been there multiple times before and has multiple playoff wins, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, I think Mike Evans and I think Mike Evans is going to have a good game and expect a good game from Bucky Irving, I think. I think that he's going to have a pretty solid game in the backfield. And yeah, Bucks defense ain't too shabby. I do look for Dan Quinn to drop a good scheme, but I like the Bucks.
love me some Bucky Irving, I must say. I
Damn
do.
right.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to disagree here. I'm
Cool.
I'm pretty split on this game, so I'm going to throw a Hail Mary because I think that I
Luke,
don't
not
know.
to interrupt you, no pun intended with that Hail Mary remark with Jaden Daniels.
And Daniels. Both teams, I'm having a hard time giving any reasoning because both teams are very similar to me.
Yeah.
They both score a lot of points in most of their games, like with no problem. And they both have had some wins that came down to the end, and they both maybe aren't quite as good of a team as their as their points per game and as their record and as their standing suggests. And I don't think any of them have any hope to win a second game in the playoffs. But I'm gonna go with the Bucks because or no, I'm gonna go with the Commanders, excuse me, because they're more, no pun intended, the wild card. I, I think that there's a lot of film on the Baker Bucks now, at least 2 years, right? And they kind of emptied the clip last week on the Saints to try to get Mike Evans his 1,000 yards, which was absolutely awesome. He did great for him, but they had a lot of trouble with the Saints, especially the first half. So they're not rolling by any means. This is just it's a toss up for me. I'm gonna be a little exciting, and I'm gonna take what I guess maybe isn't the underdog. I'm not sure, and I actually like Tampa Bay's home field advantage most of the time, but I don't think it'll be a deciding factor. So I'm gonna take a shot in the dark, and I'm gonna pick the Commanders here,
Cool.
Cool. Hey,
who
I
also very
keep going in your favor, Luke.
who also very similarly were nothing short of a laughing stock for pretty much the entire last ownership's regime. And then the second they get new ownership, they get a new quarterback, then they get a new coach, they're right there. And just picked them to win a playoff game.
They won their division in 2020, but I want to remind everyone that year they went like
Yeah.
6-10 or something like that. It was a horrible year for the NFC East, and somebody had to win that division, and Washington did. That was the Taylor Heineke playoff game against Tom Brady. Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's
In
a
Washington.
rematch. This is
That's
a rematch.
yeah, that's crazy.
That was a fun game. I really did like that game.
Is that when he dove at the goal line?
Yep,
So much aura in that
I
play.
know. Anywho, we
Last
got
game.
one more game to talk about here. We've got our Monday night game, the 14-3 Vikings and the 10-7 Rams. And this is another game like the last one. I've seen a lot of people split on this. I've seen a lot of Vikings, but I've seen a lot of Rams. And like the Chargers, the Rams are one of those teams you should not want to play right now. I mean, Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. This is not going to be a cakewalk for Minnesota. The Vikings are good, and I am picking Minnesota. I think they will win this game, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. This might be the close game of the first round, or the closest game, I should say. I could see this coming down to a field goal, to the leg of one of their kickers. I don't know who Minnesota's kicker is. Will Reichard, I think, but
Blair
I
Walsh.
not Blair Walsh. I know that. I don't know. Maybe Sam Darnold balls out. I would like to see the Vikings win this game because Sam Darnold's had such a fantastic year, and I just want to see him keep going. But Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of skeptical on this. I'm gonna say Vikings though.
Um, like we talked about in the previous game, we talked about experience and we talked about Baker having more experience than Jane Daniels. And for me, I'm taking LA just because of that experience.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford has won a Super Bowl and he's been around the block. He knows what it takes. And Sean McVay, that speaks for itself. And Cup and Nakua and that whole team, they're nothing to sleep on, dude. They're a really good team. And especially at home at SoFi, I like the Rams here. However, I could see the Vikings winning it, obviously, just because of the sheer defensive defensive skill that they have, and just Justin Jefferson. And I feel like they're coordinated defensively so well by Brian Flores. And but I really like the Rams here. I think they're going to do it.
This is a really tough pick. Another one. It's a really tough pick. I'm gonna go with Minnesota. The problem with them now is there is tape on how to not just beat them, but really beat them with last week. There is tape. But then again, Sam Darnold was missing some throws that he throughout the rest of the year had hit. And somehow somebody had a really good day on Justin Jefferson. And even with that, Jordan Addison wasn't much of a factor. I don't think the Rams are going to contain them like that. And I think that Sam Darnold knows what's on the line, which is every game now he is playing with a fluctuation of probably 10 to 15 million dollars on his next contract. If he loses two in a row now, one to the Lions in what was basically a playoff game, and one here in a real playoff game on the road, he's probably losing himself 15 million. And I'm not saying that's going to be a big enough difference to magically make him hit some throws, but that entire team knows that the public opinion is, are they on fraud watch? Are they not? Kevin O'Connell may as well be coach of the year, but that's not going to matter to him if they lose the first round. And I agree with the Rams having that experience, but I also look back to, I believe it was just last year, everybody was having the same dilemma. Rams at Lions, I think, in the playoffs, or Lions at Rams. I think it was Rams at Lions. So, okay, it was an away game in hostile territory. But everyone's like, well, nobody wants to play the Rams. The Rams have much more playoff experience than the Lions, obviously. Matthew Stafford, most people would take him over Jared Goff at that point, at least. And they lost that game. And yes, the Rams are a team nobody wants to play. Yes, I picked them to beat the Bills. And yes, they beat the Vikings, but they don't do it at a consistent enough basis. And a 14-win team, that's a lot of winning. And that's a lot of finding ways to win. If there's one thing Kevin O'Connell does, is it's win close games. They lost big to the Lions, but they win close games. And I see this being a close game. And I don't see the experience being that much of a factor when you're dealing with a coach as good as Kevin O'Connell. And the fact that Cooper Kupp had a really slow end of the year. And the fact that Matthew Stafford will have not played in 2 weeks. I'm taking the Vikings.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah,
Dante, was your segment bold pick of the week this year?
it
Do you
was.
do you have one?
Let's see. I mean, I feel like I was pretty bold picking the Steelers over the Ravens. Um, I guess I'll stick with that game. I'll go Pickens has over 100 yards receiving.
I
Uh,
think he's gonna have to if they want to win.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I could definitely see that. I would like the Steelers to make this a game. I'm excited for it, but I would like it to be a game.
Like, even if they don't win, I genuinely think it's going to be a game. Like, it's not going to be
I
a
think
blow.
it is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it isn't a close
Yeah.
down to the wire game.
Mhm.
Maybe not down. I would be surprised if it wasn't a close game.
Yeah. I
But
think whoever wins, it's not going to be more than a score.
I agree with what Luke said by if the Steelers win, it could be a little messy. I could see like a 17-14 final, something
Yeah.
like that.
I could totally see that. And I'd be cool.
21.
Dude, I'm cool if we win this game 2-0. I don't care.
I'm
I
not. I
no,
would like to see a better football game than that.
I get it.
it's just two heavyweights going at it. But yeah.
Well, we will be back next week, and we will talk about how we did and preview the divisional round, and I guess we can predict the national championship next week too once we have it.
Man, I have to say, if Penn State and the Steelers both lose, I'm gonna be crushed. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be upset.
Yeah.
But I think at least one of those teams are gonna win. But we shall see. Fingers
Yes,
crossed.
I think Penn State will win too.
Hey, relax. I think I'm going 2-0. But anyway.
As long as we get, as long as we get Penn State, I'm happy.
Yeah, as long as we get one, I'm cool. Anyway,
All right. We are your hosts, Adam,
Dante.
And Luke.
and we'll catch y'all next time. Thank you.